Okay, so I wasn't planning on making this video, but as one of the thousands of people who battled the lines at Made in Hawaii this past year, I've had a lot of thoughts about how the event actually went. Now, the reaction to the event online isn't really that great. I mean, people were just mostly commenting how long the lines were, how crazy it was, how busy it was. Now for us, the line started here and we snaked our way up and down and through all the roads to get to the front. It took us 70 minutes, and granted, this was after the doors had already opened for at least 45 minutes to an hour. Now, rather than just complain in the comment section somewhere, I want to offer constructive suggestions, I guess you could word it that way, on maybe things that they could do better to improve the overall experience for people attending. And if they're watching, I hope they at least consider some of these ideas. I don't care who gets the credit, they can take the idea. You don't have to give me credit. I don't really care. Because honestly, the experience was not fun. And that's too bad, because I thought Made in Hawaii was to celebrate local culture, local vendors, music, food. But when it is that unfun, I think for your regular attendee, it kind of loses some of that. And additionally, I think what it does is it limits access to these types of things, because it's really only going to be for people who are willing to go through all this stuff. And in just an everyday comparison, I think it's actually worse than Black Friday. So I got my list. I got 8 things that I think would make this a lot better. The first of which is to spread out the vendors. Currently, everyone is in the giant room, and this is the room that they do the Okinawan Festival in, and I'm sure other events, but we're all in the one room. And while it's nice to have, I guess, everyone in one room because it gives exposure to maybe smaller vendors that people wouldn't necessarily go out and check, the problem is when you're walking down the aisles, there's only room for 4 people, and realistically 4 adults. Let's say I'm walking this way, I'm walking towards you, right? And there's vendors on both sides. You have one row right here, and these are for the people that are waiting in line for this side. So any vendor on the left side, you have like the line forming here if it's a little bit crowded, or people kind of looking, browsing. And on the right side, you have the same thing, which means that now you only got one way going both ways. And so you got one lane of people trying to walk towards you, and you're trying to walk up like this. And it can get pretty tight, because if anybody in your lane going straight decides to look over, it backs up everybody in that line. Also, if anyone has a stroller or one of those Costco carts that you put all your stuff in, like the beach carts, it's taking up both lanes. So now you have the left guys waiting here, the right guys waiting here, and you got the cart or the stroller going right down the middle. And everybody's just gotta move. I can't figure out why they just don't spread out the vendors a little bit more. Again, I know the idea is that you could have a big vendor or a popular vendor next to maybe a lesser known one, and they get exposure, but maybe just spread the aisles out a little more if that's even possible. And if cannot do that, then maybe just pick some vendors to go to a different room. Maybe Fighting Eel and Simply Sisters, just saying. Maybe have a neighbor island specific ballroom, because I would assume that most of the customers that are going, most of the attendees are from the island of Oahu. And we don't get a chance to go and see some of these neighbor island vendors. And so for us as customers or potential customers, it'd be nice to know, okay, who is from what island? And if there was a neighbor island room, then I know everyone in that room is not from Oahu. And I think what this will also do is hopefully ensure safety, because I don't know what the capacity of that giant room is. I don't know what the fire codes are or safety codes are when you have that much people packed into a room that tight, because if something were to happen in that room, and it was safe, you know, they had the extra security, but if something were to happen in that room, it would just be chaos. People be running over each other, and we have a lot of kapuna who are shopping, and for them to be able to get out safely, I think it would be rather difficult. And so by spreading it out a little bit more, so instead of just having basically the 4 rows of people, maybe spread out to 6 or 7 people wide, so that at least people can get around each other. And of course, there will be extra cost to this because you're renting out more rooms, right? And I understand that. But I would hope that if, as in the governor's message or statement in that email that we all received, that this was supported by DBED, I would hope that maybe they could help pay for that or donate that, since this event is bringing in, I assume, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Is that fair? They're bringing in a lot of tax revenue, assuming that people are collecting taxes on all the sales happening. But it's apparently bringing in a lot of revenue, because you figure, right, that of the 70,000 people that showed up this year, you're gonna spend at least $100, right, to get in, right? You go through all the craziness to get in, you're gonna spend at least $100, right? So you got 70,000 people spending at least $100, at least, right? And you got a 4 point whatever, about 5% sales tax on that. That's a lot of money that is going to the state in various ways, right? And so I would think they'd be willing to maybe pitch in, since the convention center is kind of the state's. Maybe they could just offer some of these ballrooms. Again, it's more about quality of life and just how to spread us out a little bit more so that we're not all crammed in. Okay, I know that was a big one. Suggestion number 2 is open multiple entrances. Now I know that they mentioned that they're considering this for possibly next year, and that's a good thing. I don't understand why everyone has to funnel in through basically one line. There are multiple entrances to the convention center, and so why not utilize them? In fact, I think that if certain vendors like Fighting EO and Simply Sisters and maybe some other really popular ones had their own separate line for people that just are really trying to get there, then what it does is it frees up the line for everybody else. So it's almost like you have a serious line, like people who are there for the exclusives. They got to be there early because they only have so many sizes, and that's really why they're there. So you have a line for those people, and then you have the line for us casual people that are just there to enjoy it, to browse around. I'm not going there to get a blouse that they only have 6 of. You know, I just want to go and walk around and see what I like. You know, we picked up some snacks and things. There needs to be, I think, an alternative or a separation between these two types of shoppers, because you got the serious ones that are really hardcore, and they're the ones that are going to be out there, you know, like in the morning of day of, and then you got everyone else who just really wants to just go and see it and experience it. And to put those two in the same line, it just makes it crazier. So I think if you have multiple lines, I think it'll not only bring people in faster and you know, presumably better, but I think what it also does is it kind of defines who the shoppers are. And I think you have a better idea and more data to improve the experience if you know, okay, our serious shopper line is pretty long, and maybe the casual line, not so bad. And it's like, okay, maybe we could do something to address the serious line so that it improves even more for those shoppers who are there for very specific items. Number 3, staggered entrance times. Now, I know in their statement, or Made in Hawaii statement, they said that they tried that before in the past and it doesn't work because people don't listen. Of course, in Hawaii, people don't listen. However, I think that's actually a good system to have. You know, when you sign up, when you buy your ticket, you can sign up for specific times. The issue is more enforcement. I know we don't be like that in Hawaii, where, you know, auntie, no worries, you know, just come in and whatever. But I think that if it's very upfront, that those times will be strictly enforced. Like you don't even try to stand in line if your time is not, you know, at this particular time. Then I think people will get the message and then they'll stop. The only reason why it doesn't work is because it's not enforced, and then you just get people cutting in line and just doing whatever they like. Because once the word gets out that, oh, doesn't matter, I can just sign up for whatever time because they don't care, they don't check, then yeah, the whole system kind of falls apart. But if you can uphold that and make it very strict, I know some people are not gonna like it because, you know, they're used to kind of doing whatevers. But if that's the rule and everyone sees like, oh wow, they're actually enforcing that, okay, then the people who are in line at their time, they'll feel better about themselves. And the people who try cut, they know, well, okay, I guess I can't get away with it anymore. Okay, number 4 is a better online interactive map. Now, if you go on their website, they have a map of the entire room, and you could search businesses and you can see where they are, which is a nice feature. But I think a feature that would enhance this experience would be to actually categorize the businesses by type. And you can do this by color. So let's say you have food or clothing, or you have artwork, you have arts and crafts. You categorize it by color so that we kind of get an idea of what business is selling what. Because the business search and map works great if you know the business's name. But frankly, I haven't heard of most of these businesses, so I wouldn't even know how to search them, but I'd still like to know what kinds of things they do have. Say I'm looking for baby clothes, and I want to know all the vendors that have baby clothes. So I can see very quickly which vendors have baby clothes, and then from there I can kind of map out my route and know where to hit. Number 5, you are here star on the printout maps. So it was really nice that they had these maps that they printed out and they put on those giant pillars in the room, and you could kind of like see where you are if you don't have the paper map that they give you at the beginning. The issue though is that you don't know where you are even on the map. So I wish they would put like a "you are here" star on those maps that are spread out throughout the convention ballroom, because when I remember we're trying to find this one booth, and there's a paper map on the pillar, and I'm like, I don't even know what row we are. Where are we? And I'm looking around, and the only way I know where we are is by looking at the name of a business that's by us. I gotta look up that business on the alphabetical, the number app, or the number map, and I'm like looking for, okay, so this is the business here, okay, here. And then now I gotta look for the business I'm actually looking for, and I gotta figure out where the map is. So if on the map, they could just be a little star or sticker or whatever that just says, hey, you're standing right here when you're looking at this particular map. Just saying, it would be nice. All right, so I think this one gonna be a real winner. Provide a paid lounge in a separate ballroom. Now I know that there's a Kapuna lounge where they have some chairs for Kapuna to kind of sit and relax up front. And there's tables and chairs sort of around part of the big ballroom where you can eat if you grab food. But I noticed that a lot of people were just sitting on the ground, including us. They're sitting on the ground inside the room, outside the room, just because there's not really that many places to sit. And so I think it would be really great if maybe in one of the ballrooms upstairs, there was just a paid lounge. Like you could pay, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks an hour. And then you could come in, get AC, got, plenty of chairs, just throw convention chairs or whatever, just put tables and chairs in there so people can just relax. Maybe have TV on, you can have a vendor in there selling, soda and snacks. Just let people kind of relax a little bit. And speaking as a husband who is running around after my wife, it would be pretty nice to have a place where I could just sit and relax for a couple hours, you know what I mean? Now, if that gets too expensive, I think Hawaiian Airlines has an opportunity here to do something pretty amazing. They could sponsor that room and they could make it an extension of, let's say, a Pulani Gold membership. So if you get plenty miles and you get the lounge at the airport, you got the lounge at the Made in Hawaii Festival. How awesome would that be? Number 7, and this one's gonna be the game changer, I think. Offer paid childcare. Now I know it sounds impossible, but we were fortunate this time that we didn't have our kids. They're at my parents' house, so me and my wife got to enjoy it, Made in Hawaii, without kids. But there are a lot of parents who brought their kids along, and I'm just thinking, that's not fun, right? You're walking around for hours, and you need to get the stroller, you're carrying them, you got to keep track of them. They're tired, right, after standing in line. It's probably not a very fun experience. But imagine if they had a ballroom that offered childcare, and you could pay, and of course they would charge for that, and they could charge whatever they want. But I would think that would be something that parents would really love to have. Now, of course, it gotta be for attendees of that day, so kind of just have random people walk in and drop off their kids and dig out. And of course, you'd have to make sure that the person who's doing that, or the vendor that's providing the childcare, is certified and safe and all of that. But I'm just imagining if they offered that childcare, the experience for some of those parents, especially a lot of the moms, so much better. They could drop off their kid, just have a good time, and then come back, pick up their kid. So good. And number 8, maybe just reminding some vendors that when they give out free samples, to not give out products that have nuts in them. Now I know I get plenty of people, and a lot of people just giving out free stuff, and people are just grabbing, and it's wild, right? But in all of that craziness and all the things that are going on, I think it's important to be sensitive to those who have certain allergies, especially one like peanuts. And I only mention this because we had a family friend who they went and their kid got something for free, and then they got sick, and I'm like, I thought they weren't even supposed to do that. How come they were giving it out like randomly. I mean, just think about it. We can't eat peanuts on the airplane anymore. So to be passing out stuff that got nuts, I'm like, I probably shouldn't do that kind of stuff. And also I just noted, how would I like to be involved in this event? Obviously, as an attendee is fun. But I've always had this idea. I thought it'd be really amazing if I was able to make a video where I spend $10,000 at Made in Hawaii on the last day, and I just buy whatever, give away most of it, right? I'm just buying it just to put the money back into it to aid or just help out some of the smaller vendors in particular, because I'm sure it must be very discouraging. You show up, everybody's there for the popular ones, and hardly anybody talks to you. You're not selling cookies, so and no one's heard of you. You don't have TikToks and Instagram reels and stuff. You're just trying to make a business, and you have a good product, but you just don't know how to get it out there. I thought it'd be fun if on the last day I see what people got left. I got 10 grand of sponsored money, and I just go like, cool, what you got? Okay, you don't want to bring this back home? Shoots, I'll buy $400. Here you go, I'll take the whole thing. And then just start giving it out to random people. Just having fun with the event, and supporting the vendors. And just making a video about that, to me, I think would be pretty awesome. And again, for those vendors that maybe they aren't the most popular vendors, it gives them a little extra, something at the end, and something I think to remember the event by. And so reflecting back on this year's Made in Hawaii, I do think there is some damage control that sort of needs to be done. I think what people have seen now online is that it is unwieldy. The lines and all the businesses, it's just too hard. And as I was standing in line for 70 minutes, I was looking at the people who were in line in front of me as they were weaving around. And I was like, what if that was my mom? Like standing in line by herself? Like, what if she gotta go bathroom? What if she gets tired? And it isn't a matter of, well, just don't go. I mean, it's the right, they want to go, right? They want to participate. That's the idea, right? You want them to come. But if it's so hard for them to come because they got to stand in line for an hour just to get in, and when they get in, it's so cramped, then it's just not enjoyable. And I hope that Made in Hawaii is not now gaining this reputation of, oh, well, I just don't want to go anymore because it's just too crazy. And I don't think it's a reputation that it wants. But I think if it continues to go this way without these quality of life improvements, then local people who would love to go and support these businesses are just like, it's too much work. Now I know that there's no incentive for them to make any improvements at all. They could probably just run the same show next year. People would come, people would complain, and everyone gets money. But I just feel like it's the right thing to do to make the experience better for your customers. And the customers are the attendees, the local people who are shelling out big bucks. And why not make it a better experience for them? Because as of right now, we're probably not going back. And it's not because we don't want to support local, it's just that it's becoming extremely difficult to go there and to support local. So I'd love to hear what people's experiences were, if they did go or if they didn't go because of what they saw. Just what would make it better? So thanks for watching, and aloha.